Some children never got to be children, and the strangest part? They turned into the most quietly powerful adults in the room. You know that person who just gets it? The one who reads the room before anyone speaks, who stays calm when everything's falling apart, who never quite fits with people their own age. There's a reason for that. Psychology has a name for what happened to them. And if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance that person is you. Today, we're going inside the psychology of children who grew up too fast. We call them parentified. We call them old souls. But science calls it something much more specific, and what it reveals about who they become is genuinely extraordinary. Stay with me. So what does growing up too fast actually mean psychologically? It's not just having a tough childhood. It's something more specific, more invisible. It's called parentification. This is when a child is placed, emotionally or practically, in a parental role. Maybe their parents struggled with addiction. Maybe there was illness, poverty, chaos. Maybe nobody was actually in charge, and so the child stepped up. They learned to read emotions, their parents' emotions, before they learned to manage their own. They learned to read danger before they learned to read books. Psychologist Dr. Gregory Jerkovich calls this an invisible burden, because from the outside, these kids look fine. They're capable, they're responsible, they're mature. But inside, they skipped something. They skipped the part where someone else held the weight. And you can't unskip that chapter. It rewires you. Now here's where it gets interesting, because this rewiring, it creates something rare. These individuals, they develop traits that most people spend decades trying to build. Let's go through them. Hyper-empathy. They don't just understand emotions, they feel them in the air. Before a word is spoken, before a door is slammed. They learn to predict emotional weather like a survival skill, because for them, it was. Emotional regulation. While their peers fall apart over small things, these people have faced real storms. They know how to breathe through chaos, not because they're strong, because they had no other choice. Extreme self-sufficiency. They don't ask for help easily. They find it uncomfortable, almost foreign, because help was never reliably there, so they built a version of themselves that didn't need it. And finally, a deep, almost haunting perceptiveness. They notice what others miss, a shift in someone's tone, a micro-expression, a silence. They read people the way others read headlines, fast, accurate, and always watching. But here's the part nobody talks about. These traits aren't just gifts, they come with a shadow. The same hyper-empathy that makes them extraordinary makes them exhausting to be. The self-sufficiency that looks like strength is also profound loneliness. Because when you've always been the helper, you don't know how to let someone help you. You feel like a burden for having needs at all. And the perceptiveness, sometimes they wish they could just not see so much, not notice every little tension, every shift, every warning sign. It's isolating. To be the most aware person in the room and feel the most alone. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Many of these adults are still living in that old survival mode. The child who learned to take care of everyone, now they attract relationships where they do exactly that. They become the therapist friend, the reliable one, the one everyone leans on and no one checks on. Psychologists call this a trauma response loop. The nervous system learned a pattern. My worth comes from being needed. Love looks like someone needing me. Rest is dangerous. Stillness means something's wrong. And they carry that loop silently into their adult life. There's a specific kind of grief here that people rarely acknowledge. Grief for the childhood that never happened, for the version of themselves that got to be small, that got to be messy and irresponsible and carefree. That version never got a turn. And sometimes, late at night, they feel the absence of something they can't even name. That's not weakness. That is the most human thing I've ever heard. So what do you do with all of this? First, you name it. Because so many of these people have never had words for what they carry. They just thought they were different, too serious, too sensitive, too much. No, you were a child doing an adult's job, and you did it remarkably well. But you don't have to keep doing it. Second, you practice the thing that terrifies you most: receiving. Receiving help, receiving rest, receiving care. Not because you've earned it, not because you're in crisis, just because you're human, and humans need that. Third, and this one is quiet but powerful, give yourself permission to not be the strong one, just for a moment, in therapy, in a journal, in this conversation with yourself. Let yourself be the one who doesn't have it figured out. It's safe here. The psychologist Carl Jung said it beautifully. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. For people who grew up being everything for everyone else, accepting their own needs, their own softness, that's the real work. And it takes more courage than anything they survived as children. If this video felt personal, it was meant to, because these people are everywhere. They're the quiet ones in the corner who somehow see everything. They're the ones who hold everyone else together while quietly falling apart alone at 2 a.m. They're some of the most deeply feeling, deeply capable humans alive. And most of them have never once been told, you were never supposed to carry that much. It wasn't your job. It never was your job. But the fact that you did, and the fact that you're here, still standing, still growing, still trying to understand yourself, that says everything. You grew up fast. Now, finally, it's okay to slow down.